June 17th. What a pleasure to meet you. Grab a coffee and let's get smarter together. I spoke with a friend yesterday about the quantum universe and the goal of every organism starting from a single cell to process the entirety of the data it's made up from to generate a complete and true model. Once such a model exists, not a single event inside the universe in a single version of it can then ever again represent an unsurmountable obstacle. Because the universe is not just the source of all possible problems, but also the provider of all necessary solutions. The difficulty is the sheer amount of data that needs crunching. That's especially true when compared to the minuscule processing power of a single cell, that itself is just an almost neglectable pattern of information inside the heap. Evolution, what can be described as the harnessing of an increase in data processing power via networking, is an expression of a cell's search for networking solutions to accomplish their overall goal to generate this one complete and true model of the universe. The most obvious choice is merging ever more cells, each one with a slightly different vantage point on the quantum universe and with a slightly different partial model they are generating, to work guided by one will toward this one goal. And cells went this way, creating megaflora and megafauna like dinosaurs, but as blue whales and elephants. Considering the manifestness of the solution, my friend posed a logical follow-up question. How do we implode the self then? The act of merging, after all, turns you from an independent unit into a part of a single big entity in which each part is forsakable if the achievement of an overall goal demands it. When self-organizing in such a way, the self is in the way and would need to be imploded first. But while merging gives you the biggest increase in processing power, it has its problems. Between the forsakability is one. Every unit represents a pattern of information from within the quantum universe that observes its surrounding from a unique perspective. Whenever you sacrifice one for the sake of the overall good, you not only lose its processing power, but also the unique perspective expressed in its partial model of the universe. Your compound model will suffer. Another problem is institutional inertia. New compound models come along only after long exchanges between all the parts. One noticing a problem but not having the right tool to solve it. Another noticing a tool but not recognizing it as such. Until the tool is recognized as part of a solution, the large entity might have been forced to dissolve. The last two problems I will mention are the susceptibility of a single large entity to errors and manipulation, which is it will push along, creating an avalanche that might bury it, but also the partial failures which will sweep along all parts to a final dissolution of a single entity into its parts, and the need for these parts then to reorganize and start again. Death. Remember though, a necessary step toward the accomplishment of the main goal is the creation of a somewhat stable network with enough processing power. The search for other ways to facilitate cooperation continued therefore inside the data of a quantum universe. Mirroring is one solution that was found. Mirroring is the act of using a certain amount of data of the current partial model of a universe twice. Once in the generation of one's own self, and once in the generation of another person's representation. The overlap of selves means the goal to generate the complete and true model of one and of the other become a joint goal. The increase in processing power is not as big as when the two entities would completely merge, but the network that does come into existence as more and more selves overlap with more and more other selves, is more flexible. The self is therefore integral for the specific solution humans represent. It's not a problem. What is the way it has become the center of worship, where really it's just a tool. And it's not just one, but many. This means that as the goal is to constantly expand our model of the universe by adding new data, the self as well will constantly change with the model. As problems are revealed and solutions discovered within the newly crunched data, for which the self is the actor who implements the solution. The self isn't condemned to remain a hammer because the first discovered solution to a revealed problem was a nail. It's more like Doctor Who's sonic screwdriver, totally flexible to be whatever it takes to carry out any solution. A self based on a conservative mindset, for example, it needed to work the solution for one problem, a self based on a progressive mindset for another. And yes, we can do it. We can be both. Given the constant change to be what it takes, the new self will be as strange to the current self as the next person's self is, both requiring and deserving the same amount of care by the current self. The same amount of comparing and exchanging information with as well. And that's a strength of a networking by mirroring. Why it in this point surpasses merging. Each one of the selves has the same importance toward the overall goal, and therefore everything is done by all selves toward bringing the next into existence and to allow them to develop, while a certain fluctuation and failure in the network can be compensated. Overall, such a network can persist even as the parts are constantly replaced. The one insight can be used to add processing power and increasingly unique perspectives through what we imagine as time and space, but also from beyond the species barriers. That's exploring. Explore. Also known as think. Make a habit out of thinking. Let's turn thinking into the norm again by locating and expunging the errors and manipulations that have creeped into the human network over time. Like, comment, share, and follow, lest you miss a single opportunity to improve yourself and society. Once you do, we'll meet again at the coffee pot.